Well, that has been a problem. Okay, we're live. Yes, we're in the show. How you going, guys? Bit of a technical issue there. I don't know what was happening. My device just wasn't coming through StreamYard, and I haven't done a live for a while as well. So it's great to be back. Great to have you all. Direct hit. Kushil, Artur Burrell was there for a while. Shrindik is there. I've said Kushil. There's Artur Burrell. Rightio, guys, let's get right into it. I just want to have three quick talking points before you can ask the questions to me. All right, points are a premium today or tomorrow. India need to win to make sure that they go through to the World Test Championship final, but Sri Lanka are playing New Zealand down in New Zealand. I don't think Sri Lanka are going to win a test match down there. So Indian fans out there, you should be safe. Well, that's 90% of the situation at the moment. Well, that's 90% favour of India. But when I talk about points, I want to look at the points table quickly. I don't think we should be getting any points for draws in test matches. I saw Rahul Dravid talking about pitches. All right, we need to set up pitches so that we get results. Well, I don't think we have to do that. I think England have shown the way to play test cricket, and that's aggressive cricket. And I think we should get 6 points for a win, and you should get 12 points if you enforce the follow-on and beat the opposition team because you're trying to push the game forward. I'd like your comments downstairs about that little scenario. Okay, we're going into this test match at Ahmedabad. If we look at India, Axar Patel with his left arm off spin, and Ashwin had a field day against England a couple of years ago. They'll be really licking their licks going into this game, and also Jadeja. I don't think the spinners bowled that well in the last test match. They were too short, especially early on when Australia batted in the first innings. They'll come back with a vengeance in this game. And I expect a better performance from the Indian spinners. But I think Patel is finally going to be the shining light in this test match, and he'll get a bag of wickets for India. He'll outshine Jadeja and Ashwin in Test 3. Now, for Australia to win this match, I thought Kuhnemann bowled well in the first innings, but the second innings, he was trying to bowl a little bit quicker, and his front arm was dropping down a lot more or a lot earlier than what he was in the first innings, in the second innings, and he was causing the ball to be a lot shorter, and he was giving away easy runs to the Indian batsman, and he wasn't able to create that pressure. So Kuhnmann's got a lift to support the two right arm off spinners of Australia. And G did Lyon bowl well with his 8-4. Now, Shubs, let's get into the questions. I want to get straight into the questions. I don't want to hold up too much time, considering that we were very, very ordinary in the way that we got technology up and running early on. Artur Burrell, thanks very much for your questions, but we're going to go to Ruben Loganathan first. Loganathan. My brother's name is Nathan, and you've just put a logger in front of it. And quite frankly, he's a bit of a logger of a brother as well. But anyway, that's a bit of a dad joke. Why BCC still persisting with players, or BCCI with players who are on decline, which is obvious to all, who are neutral in views and not bringing in new players who are doing very well in domestic cricket. Well, they got rid of Rahul in the last test match, which I thought was a good thing. There was an opportunity to bring Gill in, and I thought that was a perfect scenario. You're probably talking about Virat Kohli here, and even Pujara there for a bit, but Pujara's just started to find a little bit of touch. I totally agree with you, but while India are still winning, you still got to keep that core of the middle order. You've just got rid of Rahane, you've brought Iyer in, so there's a few changes there. So I think that you've got to have that mixture of youth and experience, and I think India are doing it very well at the moment. If Pujara starts dropping off again over the next year, I think you'll see another young player come in, and that could be a bit of a Prithvi Shaw type player. And you might see Rohit Sharma with his experience just go down the order a bit and have Prithvi Shaw and Gill opening the batting, set up that opening combination for another 10 years in the future. and you still have that experience in the middle order while you're just pushing one or two of the experienced players out. So watch that. That is a very good question, Ruben. And I think Virat Kohli and Pujara are on watch at the moment with the talent that's going around in Indian cricket right now. But when you look at those two experienced players as well, with the amount of travel they've had, they've just come out of COVID bubbles. For me, I think when they get a bit of a decent break after the IPL coming up, I think we'll see the best of Virat Kohli, especially again, and Pujara. Okay, good question there, Ruban. Okay, Shubs, what's the next question there, please? Atal Baral, should Steve Smith be a permanent Test captain of Australia? Atal, I think that Steve Smith probably should be the permanent captain. Fast bowlers, you need to give them a bit of a break, especially when they're playing all three formats. Pat Cummins is going over playing in the IPL as well. His workload's going up. So for me, I think the batsmen have to be captains. It's just too much pressure on fast bowlers. And yes, Pat Cummins has got away with it early on in the piece, but as time goes on, I think he's going to create a little bit more frustration. And we saw in this last Test match that Steve Smith has got the art of captaincy. He reads the game well. He makes those small little changes which puts pressure on the opposition on the opposition batsman. And at the end of the day, if I look at all the great captains, when they were batting, they didn't see themselves as captain. They were just out there doing the job as a batsman, trying to put runs on the board. But it's in the field where they make the majority of their decisions. And for me, batsmen are under least pressure. Bowlers, they have to worry about their own bowling as well as others' bowling form or how they're bowling at that moment, and also keeping tabs on their workloads or how much they've bowled in that particular innings so that they can chop and change. But also, sometimes when you're wearing yourself out and you've got that physical pressure on you, it affects the mental thoughts as well, and sometimes you don't make the right decisions. So, Steve Smith, permanent captain. Well done. I agree with you. Hands up for that. Next question, please, Shubs. All right. Shrindek. What is the impact of WPL towards the game? Women's Premier League, this is for everyone out there. The Women's Premier League has just started. I think this is great. It's going to boost the women's game. Someone asked me the other day whether women's Test cricket is really going to take off. I'd love it to, but I don't think it will. I think Test cricket at men's level is only for 4 or 5 playing nations at the moment, and it's dropping off with the other teams that are on the lower ring of the World Test Championship ladder. So for me, I think the women are going to be concentrating on the T20 leagues and the one-day leagues. The one-day leagues is a good league because it allows those weaker teams to play a longer format where batsmen and bowlers can get a little bit more experience out in the middle by bowling for longer periods or batting for longer periods against opposition quality players. So for me, for the women, it's going to be T20 cricket and one-day international cricket, which they are going to concentrate on the majority of the time. I think Test cricket, yes, it will be there here and there, but I don't think it will be as dominant or as prominent as we see in the men because of the cost factor as well in those particular tournaments, trying to get advertising, trying to house the women when they're traveling as well. I just think the expenses compared to the income might outweigh each other, and I think they can make more of an impact on the profits side of the ledger in the shorter format. But Shradak, that is a very good question. And look, in answering that as well, I want the ICC and all cricket nations around the world to try and push Test cricket in the women's game as much as possible. But we've also got to look at the ledger, as I said. Just don't write it off with what I said. But as I said, shorter form of the game for the women, for me, for more profit. Okay, next question, please, Shubs. The direct hit. How can Indian batters counter offies coming around the wicket? It is advisable to not reach out with a big stride and play close to the body? Direct hit, this is a very good question. I think with playing spin, I think you got to try and have your bat out in front of your pad as much as possible, because we've seen Virat Kohli get LBW with the ball jammed between bat and pad because the umpire's given it out and there's no real definitive answer for the third umpire to overturn it, whether it hit the bat or pad first. Also, if you're playing close to the pad, it gives a better chance of an inside edge going onto the pad to the close fielder. Whereas if you put your bat or a couple of half a foot just in front of that pad, there's less chance of it going onto the pad off the inside edge. Also, playing out in front of your pad, you can play for the turn, and if the ball goes straight on from around the wicket, it goes past the outside edge and there's less chance of it coming back to turn the off stump. So for me, you can still have that stride going forward, out in your bat out in front of the pad and play for the spin. Don't get beaten on the inside edge where you can get hit on the pad for LBW. Get beaten on the outside edge. That's how you can counteract right arm off spin coming around the wicket when you're going for the defensive shot. When you're going for the attacking shot, you've got to get right back, work it, or if you're going to use your feet coming out of the pitch, you've got to get as far down the pitch as you possibly can, as quick as you can, and try and hit it on the full or the half volley to limit the variance on turn, or whether it goes straight. So you've got the best chance of scoring there. Good question there, direct hit. If you're going to get stumped, you're better off getting stumped 3 meters out of your crease rather than 3 inches. Make sure you really attack when you're going down the wicket. Next question, please, Shubs. Okay, Avish Banerjee, how are you going? Considering the greenish or flatter wicket in Ahmedabad, how much will Australia miss the services of the primary fast bowlers Cummins or Hazelwood? Well, there's 2 pitches out at the moment at Ahmedabad. They don't know whether to go for the green surface or the turning surface. And now that India need to win this final test match, I think they're going to go to that spinning surface and really try and put pressure on Australia. But the thing is, I don't think India really want to go to the green surface, because we've still got Boland there. We've still got Stark, who can really dominate on a green surface as well. And I think we've slightly got a better, still got a better seaming attack than India, even utilising green as well with his extra height. Spin at the moment has been dominated by India, so I think they'll go for the flatter wicket. But for me, if India were definitely home and hosed to be playing in the World Test Championship final, they would have gone on the green seamer just to get used to those conditions. So for me, I don't think Australia are going to miss the services of Cummins and Hazelwood, because we've got a lot of depth in our bowling lineup, and that's been proven over the last year with our home series, with injuries and players being able to come in and cover those particular spots. And there's a bit of a quick bowler in the background as well in Morris. You don't want to let him loose on a green top, because he bowls 150 plus. He's got a good motor in him as well, and he can bowl all day at that same pace. He's been doing it for Shield cricket here in WA, and there's no reason why he won't be able to do it over there in India. So India will be watching that as well. Good question there, but Avish. If Boomer is playing, I think India would think about going with a green top, but Boomer is not there, and that just weakens the fast bowling lineup. Good question. All right, next question, please, Shubs. Basib Mukherjee, or Mukherjee, that would probably be better. Do you think Sarfaraz Khan should be included in place of Shreyas Iyer and Sky? Oh, Sarfaraz Khan. He's such a talent. But he's got to prove himself a little bit more. Yes, he's been making runs in first-class cricket. Under pressure in the IPL, he sort of dropped on and off there. Sarfaraz Khan, he is one that has the ability to play at the highest level. Yes, it's an interesting one. I'm trying to get my words right here. Look, for me, I think Sky should get more opportunity before Sarfaraz Khan comes in that middle order. Um, Sarfaraz Khan, that is an interesting one. He's got so much enthusiasm. Yeah, that is a good question. He's not far off either in that middle order. Sarfaraz Khan, watch out for that. If Virat Kohli, Pujara aren't performing over the next next couple of months, he wouldn't be a bad one to bring in. The only thing with Sarfaraz Khan is travelling. I'd like to see how he goes against fast bowling, where he can play the horizontal bat shots with that extra pace. If he can do that, he'll slot right into number 4. And I just love his aggressiveness as well, because he can score quickly. He wants to take on the bowling. And that's where I think the game's moving forward. So someone like Sarfaraz Khan, if India want to take up England's style of aggressiveness with their batting, he would be up there in players that are really on the eyes of the Indian selectors moving forward. Bazab, Sarfaraz Khan, watch out for that. He'll be playing Test cricket sooner than later if he keeps up those performances in first-class cricket. That is a dark horse there. I like that, Bazab. I like that name being thrown up. Brilliant stuff. Next question, please, Shubs. The direct hit again. Why has Axar not picked as many wickets yet? Is it the issue of the pace he bowled at, or for me, he bowled a bit quick and that did not enable his ball to turn more? Thoughts? Look, you can look at those particular issues, but I think he's just under pressure at the moment because Jadeja's come back in the team and Rohit has gone to Jadeja in front of Axar Patel. And with his performances over the last year, and he's averaging 9 out Ahmedabad, mind you, with his left arm spin. But with his dominance, he'll be expecting more of a go. And I just think with Jadeja coming in, he's trying too hard. So he just needs to relax and think about, what do I need to do for my team right now? Forget about Jadeja's role in the team. Jadeja might be a better bat around the globe than Axar Patel, and he might be worried about his spot in the team, Patel. But he's got to forget about that and just sit back and go, right, it's a privilege to be in this lineup at the moment. Jadeja has done the job for many years. I was fortunate enough to get those opportunities over the last year or two. But for me, right now, I've got a role to play. What role is it? Get back to my best, what I do best, and that's flighting the ball on a good line and length and just bowling those little undercutters where the odd one goes straight and the odd one turns away from the right-hander. And he can do the same with the left-handers where he can be very damaging. He's got to use his height to his advantage and realise that he's a different bowler to Jadeja, has got different assets. And with those assets, he can put extra pressure on the Australian batsman. And it's a bit like Kuhnemann. He's just been the weak link at the moment because he's trying too hard to prove a point. And that's probably his big issue. Calm the farm. Just concentrate on what you can do. That's a very good question, direct hit. And yes, and you've sorted the issues out very, very sweetly there too. Next question, please, Shubs. Fact shop. Why Australia is not putting Zampa in the test setup? Leg spinners are too successful. You can see AMD Warney, you and Warney. Oh, look, Indian conditions, the test matches that we're playing on, or the test wickets that we've been playing on at the moment, I think that off spin is probably a better option because you've got the overspin plus the undercutter, and those undercutters go straight on. Whereas with the leg spinners, you're turning it big, you bowl a top spinner, and when you go for the back spinner where you're trying to slide it on, generally it grips in these surfaces and turns massively. So you're probably not as damaging as off spinners on Indian wickets, and that's proven with the records of overseas leg spinners coming over to India in the past. And that's probably one area where Australian leg spinners weren't able to really dominate like they did on other surfaces around the globe. So India's been a bit of a problem there. Zampa, I'd like to see him play Test cricket, But for me, I think line and I think a left arm off spinner. You saw Stephen O'Keefe a couple of years ago dominate over on Indian conditions. I think we need those type of bowlers rather than leg spinners when we travel to India. It's a horses for courses type scenario. And it's even when the batting lineup, if you've got players that are very good against spin, like a Hanscom, you play them in front of the other batsmen that have been doing pretty well over the last couple of years. And you look at the Head Hanscom scenario. I can understand where Australia went with that because Head's been struggling against spin on the subcontinent conditions over the last year. So they thought Hanscom would do a better job. So the thought process was right there. Now that Warner's injured, you've got Head in a more dominant role or more prominent role for him on Indian soil. So that injury's helped the Australian lineup there. But that's a good question, Fact Shop. Zampa, I'd like to see him play Test cricket, but I don't think you can have leg spinners over there on Indian conditions with the way that those pitches are right now. Next question, Shubs, if we've got one. Yes, Shadat edits. Hey, Hoggy, what's your most memorable match of your whole career? My most memorable match, look, there's many of them, but I think the most memorable match is probably you'd have to go back to 1996 when I first played Test for Australia. I was over there. I'd only just started bowling leg spin. I think I bowled leg spin 2 years before. I was there to be the understudy of Shane Warne. Shane Warne got injured, and it was between Gillespie and myself to fill off the 11th spot. And they needed another spinner, so I joined the spinning department with McIntyre. So I got that first game, and going out there playing, I realised that you needed more than just bowling a good run and length and trying to keep it as tight as you can. You had to get a bit more cricket now on you, and only bowling them for a year and a half, 2 years. I needed a bit of help on the strategy side of things. So I'll go back to the first Test match of 1996. It was a very memorable one in the fact that I got the biggest lesson of my life, that I was doing a lot of hard work physically, technically, but tactically, I needed to go and find the answers there. So 1996, the first Test match, woke me up very quickly, Shadat. Yeah. That's probably one of the most memorable matches. Then you've got the 2003 World Cup as well, when Andrew Simons made that 100 against Pakistan. The night before, Shane Warne gave us the news that he wasn't able to play for the rest of the tournament. Andrew Simons wasn't in the best of form at that stage. We're in a lot of trouble against Pakistan. He came out and saved the day. That's probably one of the most memorable one-day matches of mine as well, because it really showed what the Australian team was all about, showed the harmony, how we're all there for each other. So that was probably one of the best teams I've been involved in a cultural sense, in the way that we all fought for each other or played for each other. Good question there, Siddharth. You might ask me that in about 2 months' time, and I'll come up with a different answer as well. Don't worry about that, because there are other things that come in my mind straight away in those scenarios, and there's other things that just flick the switch and think, right, yeah, that was another great game that I was involved in. Thanks very much for that, Siddharth. Next question, please, Shubs, if we got one. Oh, he's working hard behind there. Anupam Dev Burman, how are you going? Should reviewing wides and no balls be allowed in international cricket? No. I think we've got to have a scenario where the umpires are out there to do their job, and we've got to learn to respect the umpires. With DRS, I'm not really keen on DRS either. In a sense, it's good for the game, but I just think it's another gimmick where we've got more advertising that can be splitted around at that particular time as well. Waste a bit more time. I think with umpiring, it's a special art. People try and make a career out of it. They're getting paid for it, and they're out there to do the job. And if we get the best umpires who make the right decisions 90% of the time, they should be rewarded. And I just think we're relying on technology way too much. And, you know, that's a lesson for life. We're relying on technology way too much for everything. And I don't like it. I like that. I used to like the human error in it, especially now that we have more neutral umpires going around the globe. So if you've got a game where it's just neutral umpires, I don't think we should be having DRS there. But DRS, that's my opinion. DRS has changed the game a bit as well. It's moved the game forward, and it's added a little bit of a different excitement to it. But I still like the tradition of old. But I move with the times. I'm going with it. Either way, you know, if people want to go with DRS with the wides and no balls, well, we go with DRS with the wides and no balls. It's not really going to upset me, but I still think we should be making umpires work for their pay and work for their positions at the highest level, because it's a craft, it's a job. And those people that work harder should get rewarded. Now, that's all, folks. Thanks very much for that. India versus Australia in Ahmedabad. Who's going to win? Whoever wins the toss tomorrow, with the way that things have gone, you better bowl first, because if you win the toss and bat, each team's lost the first 3 games. So that's probably something that I'll be looking forward to, the toss of the coin tomorrow. Whoever wins, are they going to bat or bowl? Thanks very much for joining me, and get your comments downstairs. Thanks, guys.